Hey guys, welcome back to Ace Recaps. Today I'm going to be explaining a 2018 Hindi crime thriller film titled Andhadhun. In the first scene, a farmer is seen in the countryside looking for a stray hare. As the farmer takes aim, the hare runs to a highway milestone. When a gunshot is heard, the scene abruptly cuts. We then meet Akash, a blind pianist who lives alone in Pune. He's bothered by a neighboring kid who believes Akash is pretending to be blind for some reason. The kid sets a trap one morning to trick him and confirm his suspicion. But Akash falls right into the trap, proving his blindness. Following an eventful morning, Akash visits a music store, where he reveals that he will soon relocate to London to pursue a career in music. Somewhere else in Pune, Pramod Sinha, a former movie star, returns home to his second wife, Simi. They are a happy married couple, despite the fact that their marriage has been widely condemned by fans who believe the age gap between the two is excessive. According to many reports, Simi married Pramod for money and fame. But the ex-actor doesn't seem to mind. Dani, his daughter from a previous marriage, pays frequent visits to the couple. On his way home from work one day, Akash is hit by a scooter driven by a girl named Sophie. As an apology, she assists him in getting up and treats him to lunch. When she discovers he's a pianist, she immediately hires him to entertain customers at her father's restaurant. When Akash is alone at home at night, he removes his foggy eye lenses and reveals that he's been pretending to be blind. Being visionless allows his artistic senses to flow, which is why he lives alone and makes a living from a lie. The next day, he goes to work and impresses everyone with his abilities. Pramod, the actor, is also present at the restaurant. He compliments the blind musician and encourages him to continue making music. After a few weeks of singing at the restaurant, Pramod invites him to his home for a private concert to commemorate his third wedding anniversary. He lies to Simi at home, claiming that he must travel to another city the next day. In reality, he wants to return home at noon and surprise her with Akash. Because of the rain, Akash and Sophie are stuck at his house in the evening. They change into dry clothes and begin discussing their lives. Things suddenly become heated, and they end up making love. In the next scene, Akash arrives at Pramod's apartment and is greeted by Simi. She initially asks him to leave, even though he insists that he was summoned by her husband. However, a neighbor overhears them arguing, so Simi invites Akash in to avoid any drama caused by his decision to play the piano. Simi claims that her husband will be home in a matter of minutes. While playing a melody, Akash's eyes are drawn to a pool of blood and Pramod's dead body lying in it. He is shocked, but pretends not to see anything to calm himself down. On his way, he requests to use the restroom. Inside the bathroom is a stranger who stands in a corner while Akash pees. He acts cool and returns to the piano after doing his business. It's clear that the stranger and Simi are having an affair and killed Pramod after being caught red-handed. While Akash continues to play, Simi pretends to let someone in the house and plays one of Pramod's voice recordings to trick Akash into thinking her husband is home. Akash plays along and witnesses the stranger leaving with Pramod's body after the incident. He goes outside and sits at a bus stop to relax. Saku, a lottery ticket seller, asks him to touch one of her tickets for good luck and calls his regular rickshaw driver Murli to take Akash to the police station. Saku and Murli have been helping Akash around the neighborhood for a long time and know him well. At the station, Manohar arrives, much to Akash's surprise. He is the same guy who assisted in the disposal of her husband's body. Akash pretends to be complaining about someone killing his pet cat, but Manohar detects his deception and requests to be taken to Akash's house to investigate the cat's murder case. While they are on their way, they meet Manohar's short-tempered wife, Rasika, whom he fears will discover the truth about him and Simi. He fabricates an excuse before going to Akash's house in order to avoid being caught. He ensures Akash's blindness by hurling a knife at him. Fortunately for Akash, he doesn't blink and manages to persuade the inspector. Later that evening, he goes to work and plays the piano more aggressively than usual. He also arrives at the restaurant and acts as if nothing happened the next morning. Pramod's death makes the news because he was found inside his car by a bridge with a bullet in his neck. However, because his watch was found at a local restaurant, the police believe it was a case of robbery. Manohar takes the case into his own hands to ensure that he and Simi are not apprehended. Dani, Pramad's daughter, is also summoned to the police station for questioning. She is devastated by her father's death and is unaware that her stepmother and Manohar are the perpetrators. They are joined by Akash, who refuses to tell the police about the murder for fear of being killed. At Pramad's funeral, the next-door neighbor, Mrs. Disa informs a police officer about a third person that was present at the house at the time of death. The officer inquires, but Simi dismisses the conversation. Dani approaches Akash at the funeral and expresses her desire to learn her father's favorite song on the piano. Akash promises to meet her at her apartment to begin the lesson. The next day, Simi tricks Mrs. Disa into stepping outside her apartment and pushes her off the balcony. Akash happens to arrive at the right time to witness the murder, but must once again remain silent. He rushes home after the piano lesson and summons Sophie. He intends to tell her everything he knows about her blindness and the murders. At the same time, the neighborhood kid is filming a cautionary video to prove that he is not blind. Simi unexpectedly arrives at his house with sweets from Pramad's funeral. Akash still acts as if he knows nothing and welcomes her in, while preparing coffee for both of them. She sits behind him, wearing a ghost face mask in the hopes of startling him and catching him in the act. But Akash manages to remain calm. She then adds something to his coffee and encourages him to drink it. Akash inadvertently drops it, confirming that he's just pretending to be blind. Simi becomes enraged and points a gun at him. It forces Akash to drop the act and admit his deception. He also promises not to tell anyone about what he witnessed and to flee to London within a month. Simi reveals that the gun is a forgery, but she drugged the sweet that he ate earlier. As a result, he becomes unconscious. Sophie arrives at the house a short time later and is greeted by the child from earlier. He shows her a video of Akash working without his glasses. She yells at the door, only to be greeted by a naked Simi. Simi pretends to have had sexual relations with Akash because he sympathizes with her over the death of her husband. He is unconscious on the bed as a result of the drug. So Sophie accepts Simi's story and storms away. Akash awakens in the middle of the night with foggy eyes, realizing he has been blinded by Simi. If he ever revealed the truth, she wanted to paint him as a liar. As a result, she injected him with something that destroyed his cornea. She departs after confirming that he has indeed gone blind. He then calls Sophie, who refuses to listen to anything he has to say elsewhere. Manohar is enraged at Simi because he believes she should have killed the pianist rather than blinding him. When Simi lashes out at him, he decides to finish the job himself. He storms into Akash's house at night and attempts to strangle him to death. Fortunately for Akash, he is able to injure the inspector and flee. He wakes up in the hospital after wandering around all night. Dr. Swami informs him that he was discovered on the road by the lottery ticket seller Saku and the rickshaw driver Murli, and that they brought him to the hospital. Akash thanks them and requests an appointment with an optometrist for his eyes. Dr. Swami promises to call his optometrist friend on his behalf by the end of the day. The doctor claims to be giving him a tetanus shot, but instead draws his blood. It is later revealed Murli and Saku are being paid $2 million each for a pair of kidneys, and because Akash has no immediate family or friends, they intend to murder him and sell his kidneys. When it gets dark, they place him on a hospital bed pretending to perform a body scan, but he hears the word surgery and panics. As they restrain him, he realizes he's in serious trouble, and just before passing out, he claims to know Saku has a Lord Shiva tattoo on her arm. They realize he is telling the truth and postpone the plan until the next morning to check if he can really see. Akash awakens to learn that the group was about to kill him. In order to save his life, Akash claims to have $10 million that he's willing to share if they help him carry out a plan. The money-hungry group agrees to participate. He tells them everything about Manohar and Simi and how they murdered her husband, but lies that the couple has a $10 million that they stole after his death. The group decides to blackmail Manohar into giving them the money. Later, when Simi returns home from work, she is surprised to see Akash playing piano with her stepdaughter. She had assumed that after what she did, he would flee to another city. She offers him a ride and informs Manohar of his presence. The couple intends to bring him to a secluded location and kill him once and for all. Nothing is more important to Akash than his vision. He has been told that he can get a cornea transplant for 1,000,000 rupees, so he asks her for some money in exchange for keeping his mouth shut about the murder. Murli's rickshaw suddenly comes to a halt in front of their car. As part of the plan, Akash uses a drug to knock Simi out, and the group kidnaps her to a hideout. They then call Manohar's wife Rasika and tell her about his affair with Simi. They threaten to sell the news to a media company unless she pays them $10 million by tomorrow. Rasika goes ballistic on her husband after learning the truth. She fires at him and only stops when he receives a call from another officer. Simi's car was discovered near a bridge with her shoes and wallet, leading police to believe she jumped off it to end her life. Rasika still wants to save her husband and plans a solution in the hideout, but the group threatens Simi and draws her blood to intimidate her. When Manohar arrives with the money the next day, they intend to trap him in an elevator. The group will then flee with the money and live their lives happily as planned. Manohar arrives at the hideout with a bag of cash. However, Saku and Murli betray Akash and tie him to a chair in order to steal all of the money. He and Simi are left in a room alone while the others deal with Manohar. Simi laughs at Akash's fate but reveals that Manohar is planning to kill her because she is currently a burden to him. The two decide to help each other escape to another location. Dr. Swami retrieves Simi's blood samples that he had accidentally sent to the lab, and the results shock him. At the same time, Murli receives the bag containing the money but is shot by Manohar in the process. Saku successfully traps the inspector in the elevator and steals the money bag for herself. She also assists Murli and transports him to the hospital, but he dies there. Simi attacks Akash to kill him after untying her bound hands, but is stopped by Dr. Swami. They engage in a fight that ends when they knock Simi out. Dr. Swami finally reveals that Simi has the blood group BRH negative, which corresponds to the blood group of a wealthy man's daughter. In exchange for Simi's liver, the man offers them 10 million rupees. With the money, the doctor will never have to work again, and Akash will receive a cornea transplant. Still, Akash is hesitant because they will have to kill Simi in order to obtain her liver. The doctor persuades him otherwise and continues driving. It is now 2 years later. Sophia is on vacation in Europe, where she comes across a poster of Akash. She walks into a restaurant and finds him playing the piano as usual. When pressed, Akash reveals what happened the day after the doctor threatened to kill Simi for her liver. It turned out she had killed the doctor from the trunk of the car and was about to run over Akash. However, the hair from the beginning of the film slammed into the windshield, causing her car to fly off the road. She was killed in the accident, and Akash fled to London with the assistance of a friend. As a result, he remains blind and continues to live his fantasies. Sophie informs him that she has a flight back home the following day, and they agree to stay in touch. However, in the final scene, Akash hits a can with his cane, almost as if he sees it. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.